Rome is a city built on blood, and it will never cease to thirst for more. Let us now return to the beginning, when Maximus was still a respected Roman general and commander of the invincible Roman legion, where he was known as the Terror of Germania, as he led his troops to one great victory after another against the fierce Germanic tribes. The name of Maximus became a source of pride and hope for Rome, while his enemies feared it as a harbinger of death. His men loved him as he was a just and honorable man who always stood by their side, sharing their hardships and celebrating their triumphs together. He was not only a skilled military leader, but also an example of bravery, tenacity, and unwavering loyalty to Rome. However, even amidst the roar of crowds cheering his name and the spoils of war at his feet, there were those who felt threatened by his glory. Among them, the spoiled and power-hungry heir to the throne, Commodus, whose insatiable ambition knew no bounds. As the son of the aging Emperor Marcus Aurelius, he watched with envy as Maximus received all the accolades and adoration from the people, something he believed rightfully belonged to him. Unable to bear the sight of Maximus's greatness, Commodus hatched a treacherous plan to destroy him, unaware that he would also be signing his own death warrant. When Marcus fell gravely ill, it became apparent that the end of his life was near. Aware of his imminent demise, the emperor decided to designate his successor, choosing Maximus to take over the reins of the empire. This decision was not taken lightly. Marcus had carefully observed Maximus over the years, witnessing his courage, competence, and unwavering commitment to Rome. He knew that in Maximus, the empire would be in good hands, as he was a man of honor and justice who would continue to safeguard Rome's interests with the same dedication that Marcus himself had shown. In contrast, Commodus had shown nothing but disdain and arrogance, displaying a selfish and destructive nature that could lead the empire into ruin. Therefore, Marcus Aurelius made the decision to leave the legacy of Rome to Maximus, confident that he would continue his work and guide the empire towards a future filled with prosperity and justice. But unfortunately, this act of succession did not sit well with Commodus, who was consumed by his thirst for absolute power and control over the empire. Upon learning of his father's decision, he felt betrayed and enraged, unable to accept the fact that Maximus, a mere soldier, had been chosen over him. Filled with hatred and resentment, Commodus concocted a sinister plan to eliminate Maximus and secure the imperial succession for himself. As Marcus Aurelius grew weaker, Commodus approached his father, feigning concern and affection, and subtly suggested that he should reconsider his decision about the succession. He reminded his father of his status as heir to the throne and questioned whether it was fair to disregard their blood ties in favor of a mere general. With cunning and manipulation, Commodus planted seeds of doubt in his father's mind, suggesting that Maximus might be plotting to usurp the throne and that his loyalty to the empire could not be fully trusted. Day after day, Commodus continued to pressure his father, intensifying his campaign of slander against Maximus until Marcus Aurelius began to waver in his decision. Torn between his duty as emperor and the pleas of his son, he started questioning whether he had made the right choice. At that moment, Commodus knew he had succeeded in his plan and felt confident that he would soon be proclaimed emperor. However, he underestimated the strength of Marcus Aurelius's resolve and the depth of his trust in Maximus. Despite being influenced by his son's arguments, the emperor remained firm in his belief that Maximus was the best choice to lead Rome. He reaffirmed his decision, declaring that Maximus would indeed be his successor and that nothing would change his mind. Faced with this rejection, Commodus's anger and frustration reached a boiling point. He felt humiliated and betrayed by his father's intransigence and was determined to make him pay for it. Consumed by his thirst for power and revenge, he decided to take matters into his own hands. While Rome celebrated Maximus's victories and basked in the glory of his triumphs, Commodus plotted in the shadows, devising a plan to destroy his father's reputation and remove him from power once and for all. Unknown to Maximus and the rest of the empire, a storm was brewing within the heart of Rome, and it threatened to engulf them all in a sea of deceit, betrayal, and violence. And so it came to pass that one fateful night, when everyone had fallen asleep, Commodus crept into his father's chambers with a heart full of malice. There he found Marcus Aurelius lying peacefully in his bed, oblivious to the danger that lurked nearby. Without hesitation or remorse, Commodus drew his sword and plunged it deep into his father's chest. The emperor let out a muffled cry of surprise and pain as the blade pierced his armor and tore through his flesh, but he quickly realized that his time had come. With his last breath, he looked at his son with disappointment and sadness, unable to comprehend the betrayal he had suffered at the hands of someone he had raised with so much love and care. And thus, with a heavy heart and a sense of profound injustice, Marcus Aurelius breathed his last, leaving the empire he had ruled with honor and dignity for many years without a leader. And Commodus ascended to the throne, but his triumph was short-lived as Maximus would soon arrive to claim revenge for the death of his beloved adoptive father and restore order to the empire that had been thrown into chaos by the actions of the new emperor. Upon discovering the heinous crime committed by his adopted son, Maximus vowed to avenge the death of Marcus Aurelius and restore justice to Rome. Consumed by grief and rage, he raised an army loyal to him and marched towards the city, determined to overthrow Commodus and end his tyrannical reign. Meanwhile, Commodus, aware of the danger posed by Maximus's growing power, took drastic measures to ensure his safety. He ordered the execution of Maximus's family, believing that eliminating his loved ones would weaken his resolve and prevent him from rebelling. However, what Commodus did not foresee was the level of ferocity and determination that would drive Maximus in his quest for revenge. When Maximus arrived in Rome and learned of the fate of his family, a deep sense of sorrow and wrath consumed him. He felt the pain of losing his loved ones, but it was overshadowed by the burning desire for retribution against those responsible for their deaths. At that moment, Maximus realized that there was no turning back. He had to fulfill his promise to avenge his family and restore balance to Rome. With a heavy heart, but with an unbreakable spirit, he prepared to face the challenges that lay ahead. Determined to bring Commodus to justice and restore order to the empire, Maximus led his army through the streets of Rome, facing fierce resistance from the emperor's soldiers. As the battle raged, Maximus fought with a combination of skill, ferocity, and determination that astonished even his fiercest opponents. With each blow he struck, he remembered the memory of his family and the honor of Rome, fueling his strength and resilience. Despite the odds stacked against him, Maximus managed to rally his troops and push forward, slowly but surely gaining ground against Commodus's forces. As the battle reached its climax, Maximus found himself face to face with the emperor's elite guard, a formidable group of soldiers who had been trained to protect Commodus at all costs. But even in the face of such daunting odds, Maximus did not falter. He continued to fight with unwavering determination, his every move a testament to his skill and courage as a warrior. Just when it seemed like the tide of battle would turn against him, reinforcements arrived. A group of senators and influential figures who had grown tired of Commodus' tyranny and longed for the return of justice and order to Rome. With their support, Maximus's army gained new strength and momentum, pushing forward until they finally reached the gates of the imperial palace. There, amidst the clash of swords and the roar of the crowd, the fate of Rome hung in the balance. Inside the palace, Commodus watched anxiously as his soldiers fell one by one before Maximus's relentless assault. He knew that his time was running out and that soon he would have to face his challenger. With a mix of fear and defiance, Commodus prepared to defend himself, knowing that he would have to give his all if he wanted to survive. And as the battle outside the palace walls reached its final moments, Maximus stood victorious, ready to confront the emperor and put an end to his reign of terror. As the sun set over Rome, casting long shadows across the city, Maximus entered the throne room where Commodus awaited him. Surrounded by his defeated soldiers, the emperor looked like a cornered animal, his eyes filled with fear and desperation. Without hesitation, Maximus attacked, his sword flashing in the dim light as he advanced towards his opponent. Commodus tried to defend himself, but Maximus was too strong and too determined. With each blow, Maximus came closer to delivering the final strike, but he held back, giving Commodus chance after chance to surrender and repent for his crimes against Rome and his family. However, the emperor was too proud and too consumed by his own self-preservation to admit defeat. Instead, he continued to resist, hoping for a miracle that would save him from the consequences of his actions. Finally, as the battle reached its climax, Maximus delivered the fatal blow, ending Commodus's life and putting an end to his tyranny. With his enemy vanquished, Maximus could finally breathe a sigh of relief, feeling the weight of the empire he now bore upon his shoulders. He knew that the road ahead would be challenging, but he was ready to face whatever lay in store for him, knowing that he had the support of the people and the legacy of Marcus Aurelius to guide him. Thus, in the end, Maximus Decimus Meridius fulfilled his destiny, not only avenging the death of his adoptive father, but also restoring honor and justice to Rome. Although his journey was marked by sacrifice, loss, and hardship, he emerged victorious, proving that even in the darkest of times, hope and resilience can prevail. Thank you for watching this epic cinematic video. Don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more thrilling adventures.